Peace. What's happening, good people? This gift here for Pay Us No Mind. And let's talk about Spotify and their monetization threshold becoming official and active, and also this whole Warner Music Group Tunecore acquisition and the more that unravels, and just my thoughts on why I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing and why it might maybe even be a good thing, you know, as well as getting into your questions, whatever you guys got on your mind, you know, whatever y'all want to talk about, right? This Puffy situation, perhaps, I don't know, right? It's crazy in these streets. It's crazy, you know. But yeah, man, as always, I run my mouth about the topic at hand for the first 10 to 20 minutes. Then we get into the live chat where everybody get to ask questions and all of that good stuff, man. You know, if you want to support the channel, you can by sending super chats, becoming members, all of that good stuff. We have links to discounts and products and services that we recommend in the description box, so you could check that. Also, you know, hit the Pay Us No Mind website, man, for more information, more like detailed breakdowns of some of the reviews and stuff like that we do. Now, I'm gonna check the system, make sure we good to go. Then we gonna dive into the topic at hand, good people. All right? All right. Yeah. Yeah, man. So this Spotify thing, right, is, for those that don't know, you know, and I have something up on the Pay Us No Mind website that just breaks down the details of it. So it's like, the details of it are individual tracks, not like your catalog in totality. Individual tracks, each song has to generate at least 1,000 streams every 12 months. So not once, but every 12 months, each song has to generate at least 1,000 streams. If it does not, it no longer qualifies for monetization. And the 1,000 streams threshold isn't all there is to it. They additionally have a listener threshold, which they don't disclose because they say people would be more I guess effective at gaming the system if they knew how many listeners they needed to get the 1,000 streams. So they won't say how many listeners. So it's 1,000 streams for each song every 12 months from an undisclosed number of listeners. Now, the previous assumption was that this would completely demonetize all of this music that was under 1,000 streams. But that apparently isn't the case, at least not for now. So currently, you can and you will still be paid royalties for your publishing. So you will still get mechanical royalties and you will still get performance royalties. So your mechanicals right now are collected for you if you're in the US by the Mechanical Licensing Collective. All of them, your mechanical royalties go directly to them. And your performance royalties go to your PRO, your ASCAP, your BMI, your CSAC, things of that nature. So right now, if you are not registered with a performance rights organization or the MLC, you will not get any of the royalties that you owe from Spotify. So you have to be registered with those guys. And what they pay you is about 20% of your overall royalties. So that's how royalties are kind of like broken up. About 80% goes to the sound recording royalties, goes to what you get paid by your digital distributor, your Tunecore, your Apple, your DistroKids, things of that nature, and 20% go to your publishing, what you get paid by ASCAP and the MLC and things of that, and Harry Fox Agency. Now, the thing to note on the mechanical royalty end is the fact that when it comes to your mechanical royalties, the MLC only collects for streams and activity in the US. So if you have streams outside of the US, like let's say your fan base resides in Germany or Switzerland or somewhere in Europe or in Latin America or something like that, you will not get your mechanical royalties for streams and activity in those places. In order to get that, you would need to register with a company like Songtrust. So Songtrust will register your music in all of the places that the MLC does not collect from. So they will go and register your music in the Latin American, in the countries in Latin America and in the countries in Europe and things of that nature. So you get all of your mechanical royalties. So effectively, you need them. They also collect from the MLC too. So now we're in this wheelhouse where if you have songs under 1,000 streams and you don't have Songtrust, you miss out on, I guess, half of the 20% that you would be owed that you could actually collect on. So to an effect, now it's somewhat of an essential service. So it's like previously we could say definitively that ASCAP was essential and that something like Songtrust was maybe optional, right? Because it was like you still got your sound recording royalties and it was like, all right, you're missing out on something, but you still getting a huge chunk of what you'd otherwise be owed. But now it's like, yo, this is all you got. So now it kind of becomes like way more critical to be registered with a Songtrust, so you kind of gotta be, right? And good for you, right? We have a discount on them in the description box as well, Now, this news, well, not that this is news. So it's like as of, because this was already like talked about and dragged over the coals and all this other stuff when they made that announcement, which is probably why they leaked it and had it leak early to get everybody to get their frustrations out. So by the time it actually becomes active, it's like an afterthought and nobody's talking about it and nobody's really like in a fuss because they've already gotten through that, And what's going to be interesting is the next 3 months. So this threshold took root on April 1st. So it took root on April 1st. So you got April, May. So maybe royalties for June and July is when we'll see the ramifications of this threshold and the impact of it. And what I'm looking for is with artists, particularly artists that have like vast catalogs of music where they got some songs that do well and some songs that perform poorly, and looking to see whether the performance of the songs that do well make up for the lack of monetization for the songs that perform poorly. Because the whole thing is saying, hey, well, we're gonna take this money from these poorly performing songs and give them to these better performing songs and allow artists to make more money. But what it comes down to is how much. So maybe, let's say you lose $500 from your back catalog from all of the songs that perform poorly, but the increase that they're giving you with this new distribution only increases your royalties by $20. So you lose 500 and gain 20. Like that would be a complete mismatch. So that's what I'm kind of looking for and trying to see what's up there, right? Like whether you lose money or whether you gain money as an artist that gets some streams, right, or has some popular songs. Now, for artists that don't have any songs that generate over that 1,000 stream threshold, yeah, you're gonna need Songtrust, you're gonna need ASCAP or BMI or something to that effect in order to fully monetize your catalog. Otherwise, you're just gonna be done. It's gonna be a wrap for you, right? Now, we're gonna take a quick break, man. I'm gonna give y'all a brief message from our sponsor. Right? Yes, people. We take sponsors, This video is sponsored by Mogul, where you can make sure you're collecting all of the royalties you owe and not just the ones you know about. See how much you're earning from every revenue source across your entire catalog. Connect any distributor or royalty collection entity to automatically pull in reports. Conduct your own audits by comparing and contrasting royalties for songs across revenue sources to spot the table. Mogul. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So another thing, right, I wanted to just touch on briefly is like, I don't know if y'all know, but BMI, right? The Performance Rights Organization, the ASCAP competitor, they became a private company, right? Like they were a non-profit. They became a private company, a for-profit company rather. And that was all in preparation to sell the company. And they sold the company. And the money that they made from selling the company, they gave the artists that they represent, I think somewhere around like 5% of what they got paid for the company. And I'm like, this is why this music business is so abusive, right? Like you think about BMI and ASCAP and what their job is. They do not have effectively a company. It's not like a Spotify where it's technology and they're like, okay, here's our technology. And if you buy our company, you're buying our technology. All these guys do is leverage your catalogs to go and tell people to give them money. So they go to radio stations and bars and stuff like that. And they say, hey, you're playing music that belongs to artists we represent. Give us money to pay our artists. So in a sense, they're like a manager, right? They're like an agent. And in exchange for providing this service, they get about 20% of your revenue. That's what an agent or a manager would get. And that's what ASCAP and BMI kind of reserve. They reserve like 20% of the revenue that they collect for their operating costs. Now, for a company whose only asset is the music that it represents, that survives off 20% of what it collects off of that music to sell for like, I think, what was it, like 1.7 billion or something like that? You know, like over $1 billion to sell for over $1 billion and give the artists, the songwriters that they represent 5% of what they sold for? Like, are you serious, dude? Like, that's like over 90% of the, you know, that right there is just like corporate greed. You know, whoever's at the top of the food chain there was just like, yo, why do we have to give these artists anything? You know, like, why can't we keep it? You know, like, what are they gonna do? Complain? Cry me a river? Cry me a river? Because it's like, yeah, and what can the artists do? So now all these artists are getting, or these songwriters are getting their royalties or getting their share of that money, and it's just like complaining, looking at it like, what, $300, $100, you know, because it's pennies. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy that a company that has a job like that and no assets and the music is there. Because imagine if when the songwriters got wind, because they had to basically smooth it over with the songwriters. So when they decided to become a for-profit company, the wind was already blowing and people were saying, hey, they're planning to sell. And they were like, no, that's not what it is. We are becoming a for-profit company because this will enable us to better serve the songwriters we represent. That's what they try to say. Because ultimately they knew that if it was like, okay, yeah, we're planning to sell the company, the songwriters would jump ship. And if the songwriters jump ship and took their catalogs to ASCAP or something like that, then BMI would have zero assets. nobody is paying anything for BMI without those songs. So artists stick around, they can sell the company for $1 billion. But imagine if the artist took their music off of there, the company would sell for $0. So at the least, it should have been split down the middle, you know? And the fact that it wasn't is a travesty. Straight up travesty. Word up. It's madness, you know? Now, yeah, man, crazy talk. But yeah, the other thing, man, is Warner Music Group. Warner Music Group and their potential acquisition of Tunecore. And why I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing. So right now, Warner Music Group they were given 13 days to put in a firm bid for Tunecore, or Believe, the company that owns Tunecore. And it's about 4 days left that they have to put in the bid, because they put in like a speculative bid, like, yeah, here's what we offer if we offer something. But they didn't put in a firm offer, and they have 4 days to do that. And they were given all of Believe's sensitive information to review and analyze to determine what their value is and what bid would actually be worth making. And after 4 days, so we got 4 days from now, they'll make their bid if they choose to. And then from there, if Believe accepts that bid, then they're bought and they're owned by Warner Music Group. Now, Warner Music Group has already been making a push into this independent artist sector and has issued almost like basically like a decree, right, to their workers that, hey, we want to make a splash in this sector of indie artists when it comes to providing services to them, when it comes to publishing administration, when it comes to all of these different things, because this is an exploding sector and we want in. And their acquisition of Tunecore and Believe is just an extension of that. But they already have a digital distributor. It's just not all that popular, right? So if they don't buy Believe because they don't feel like, well, it's worth whatever the asking price is, then best believe they probably look at Downtown or another company and potentially buy something else, right? 1RPM maybe, DistroKid maybe, you know? So they want in on this. Now, the reason why I don't think is necessarily a bad thing is because it's like, you know how you got unions with workforces, and the unions organize all of the workers. And then the union reps fight for certain things on behalf of the workers. And what we are effectively, we're like scabs to some effect with these streaming platforms and things of that nature, right? TikTok and stuff like that, you know? And I'm not trying to basically try to refer to us in a derogatory manner. What I'm saying when I talk about scabs is like labor unions, when they fight for rights for the workers, the institutions, the stores or whatever have you, they don't necessarily have to bend to what the union wants, because there's a whole bunch of people that just want a job. And they'll happily accept whatever terms just to work and make some money. Whereas the union workers, they had the job and they want better, you know, better hours, better pay, you know, better conditions, things of that nature. But you got a long line of people that will happily accept the current conditions just to have a paycheck. And those people, when people are on strike and things of that nature, are considered scabs. And this is where it's like with Spotify once upon a time, when they decided to try to make a foray into allowing artists to upload music directly to their platform. You know, they have a non-compete clause with the record companies where they can't go out and compete and say, hey, artists, use us instead of signing. So what they try to do is do some type of back end thing where they say, oh, we're working through artist managers. Artist managers can sign up and distribute their artist catalog, which is basically you saying the artist, because the artist manager doesn't have the rights to an artist catalog. They can only go to an artist and say, hey, do you want to release your music direct to Spotify? And the artist says, yeah, and allows them to do it. Now, what happened with that was Spotify was required to pay, or they take about, what was it, like 30% of the revenue that they collect on behalf of, they take 30% of the revenue that they pay out the rights holders at that time. They was taking 30%. Now, if you were an independent artist that was trying to distribute music directly to Spotify, they wanted to take 35%. So they wanted to charge you an extra 5% to release your music directly through them. And that might not seem like a big thing, 5%, but when you're getting into billions of dollars, it amounts to a lot of money. And that is just the tipping point. Because if, let's say that would have been successful and they would have had this big explosion of indie artists using them directly to where it was able to compete with major labels, what that would have created was a situation where they could go to the major labels and say, hey, we're not dependent on you. We don't have to bow to your demands and give you what you want in regards to fair compensation, and bargain them down. And that wouldn't benefit us because we don't have any representation. So with us, it's basically whatever they say goes. So they come to us and they say, okay, well, we want to take 40%, 50%, 60%. What can you do about it? You can do as much about it as what we can do now with the threshold thing, where they say, oh, okay, well, we only going to pay you, if your songs get 1,000 streams or whatever, and all that anybody can do is be like, well, damn, man, that's messed up, So this is where unity comes in play. So if Warner Music Group buys Believe, and if some of these other companies buy these other companies, then you have this mass consolidation. Now, mass consolidation, monopolies, usually bad things, because what happens is, hey, they can be abusive themselves. But the reality of the situation is, here's why I don't think that would be the case. It's because it's a service. So it's like the record companies, they're making investments in artists. So it's like, okay, well, we are trying to decide which artists we're going to give $1 million to and extend our resources to and things of that nature. Tunecore, these things are services. You pay a fee and you release your music yourself and put it out there and things of that nature. So being restrictive just limits the amount of money that they could make. So I don't think that they would turn around and gatekeep in that sense, because it's counterproductive to gatekeep. And then at the same time, if they were to gatekeep, they would get undercut. Somebody else would come and be like, hey, you could just come use us. And that would just basically start the cycle all over again. The same way DistroKid came and undercut Tunecore and CD Baby by being like $20 unlimited. If Warner Music Group or any record company bought up the pre-existing digital distributors and said, hey, if you don't have a following on Instagram or something to that effect, we're not going to distribute your music, then some other company would come up and be like, hey, we'll distribute your music. And then everybody would go there and then they would start eating up market share, and the same problem that they're trying to avoid now and address now would happen all over again. So I don't think that would happen, right? But ultimately, us all kind of coming together under the same umbrella makes the fight the same, right? It's us versus Spotify, versus Apple Music, versus Tidal, versus these platforms, and trying to get the best possible rates from these platforms. Now, as far as how it might impact individual artists on these services, it won't. It's basically the same way it is now. So all of these services, from Tunecore to CD Baby to DistroKid, maybe not DistroKid, but definitely CD Baby and Tunecore, they all have like A&Rs, and they all have like this upper level of services and stuff that they have available. but they don't extend it to all of the artists that use their service. Like, you have to achieve a certain level of success before they'll lift the velvet rope and let you through the doors to get a lot of this stuff. So it's like Tunecore. They will do video distribution if an artist is at a certain level. CD Baby too will do video distribution, but you're not going to see that in the offer for the standard service, because it's like, well, you know, we don't even want to have you email us about it, right? To waste the customer service time responding about it. So they have those services there. They just tear them off and say, oh, we're only giving it to this. And that's the same way the record companies would do. They would be looking at it and being like, okay, who is popular and popping, and we can give some resources to so we can make even more money, you know, and reach out to them and work out an agreement where they taking a percentage and getting paid on that when that person succeeds even more. So that's how I would see that breaking down, man. And I mean, listen, man, you know, so we got a lot of institutions that is complaining about this possible acquisition and being like, hey, man, this is going to be a problem. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like, yo, man, what are they doing for us right now? So I'm looking at, what is it, A2IM, you know, that company, Merlin, a lot of these companies or a lot of these institutions, these nonprofits that are supposed to be protecting independent artists and representing independent artists, they're doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. They're not protecting us at all. You know, so the Spotify monetization thing, Apple Music's saying, okay, we're going to pay 10% more for spatial audio, which means everybody else gets 10% less. Deezer and their monetization threshold, all of these different rules that are being implemented across the board by streaming platforms under the demands of record companies, and all of these guys are doing is just punching clouds. You know, they're like, oh, they shouldn't do this. We feel like this is wrong, issuing statements that break down what they should do instead and getting ignored. So it's like, yo, at the end of the day, yeah, man, it might be better to have the consolidation than to just be where we're at now, which is just getting kicked like a can in the street, left to right, across the street, whatever have you, man. You know, like it got to be something better than this. But I'm interested in knowing you guys' thoughts, man, and what y'all think about it, man. You know, so I'm going to shut up and see what y'all got to say. If anybody got anything they want to talk about, anything they want to throw out there, you know, feel free, man. You know, say something. If you're watching, tap in so I can shout you out and all of that good stuff, man. But right now, I just want to say this. And usually I don't talk about these types of things, but I'm going to say something about it. This whole Puffy situation, man, is very odd to me. This whole thing with Puffy and the sexual assault, sex trafficking, all of this stuff, because what it showcases to me is just like the danger of the court of public opinion, right? Because it's like, I cannot say if this man is guilty or innocent. I have no clue. I don't know, you know? But what I do know is that he hasn't been convicted of anything, right? I mean, nobody has seen a video of any of these actions that the dude is being accused of. There's been no videos. There's been no photos. There's been nothing but speculation. People saying stuff, you know? And even with the Cassie thing, I mean, that could be true, could be extortion. I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? I have no idea. And what we got to recognize is that these celebrities have advisors, you know, and when these things happen, they have advisors that come and say, listen, man, just give this person money and this all goes away. If you don't pay them, then it drags on. Maybe it goes to court, and then all sorts of other details about your life that you may not want people to know come out, and you get embarrassed and all this other stuff. And then at the same time, hey, there's a large sector of people that will never believe that you're innocent, even if you got acquitted in court, right? Look at OJ, you know what I'm saying? OJ got off, they said he was innocent, and still everybody guilty, you know? So it's like at the end of the day, getting proven innocent in court doesn't mean anything to the court of public opinion. So it's just like, oh, give this person money and it all goes away. So that's what people could be doing, just giving people money to hope it goes away, but it doesn't go away. It just gets bigger because more people talk. And I know from just experience that with this internet stuff, the more people see stuff, the more they believe it. So it's like that saying, they say a lie repeated becomes the truth. So it's like if somebody sees something on one blog and then they go to another website or article and see it there too, and go to another thing and see it there too, they like, well, everybody's talking about it. It must be true. And then it's like, no, because there are no facts being presented in none of these places. They're all just spewing the same gossip, you know? And then once you have something like that come out, people read that and they see what other people are talking about. Then you have copycats where somebody else come out and say, oh, okay, that happened to me too. And all of this other stuff, because now you got all of these people looking for attention, you know, all of this different type of stuff. And for me, it's just really suspicious, man. It's just really suspicious, right? Because I look at it and I'm like, dude, if he's guilty of something, arrest him, you know? Like, and I mean, maybe they make an arrest at some point, but the fact that they haven't and they raiding this dude, it seems like they're just looking for something. They're trying to find something, man. And a lot of times when they be like going after these guys, and what floats into the public and what we know and we're talking about and stuff like that, and then they go to court and get convicted of something, a lot of times it ain't even what they were being accused of in the court of public opinion. They might be accused of sex trafficking, sexual assault, something like that, and then they go to court and they get them on like some type of BS racketeering charge or something, right? And then they go to jail for that. And people see, hey, this guy was accused of sexual assault and he went to court and he was guilty. So people just assume that he got convicted of what he was speculated to be accused of doing. And that's not what the guy got convicted of. He got convicted of something that was completely not that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but in the court of public opinion, that's what everybody will perceive that you were guilty of. And that to me is like, it's wild, bro. It's wild, because it's like the reality of the situation is that anybody can say anything about anybody. You know, like I could come on Twitter right now and say anybody in the chat robbed me. And if I can go read a newspaper and find a story of somebody that got robbed and take it and say it myself, it's a believable story. It's something that happened. Didn't happen to me, but it happened, you know? So I could be like, he came up from behind me. He grabbed me in the yoke. He stuck the knife to my neck. He said, give me, you know? And people look at that story and they say, wow, this sounds real, man. Like, yo, I believe him. And you sitting home like, what? Dude, I never met this guy in my life. But hey, man, people believe it. And now you dealing with the ramifications of it, right? And this is something too, leads me to something else that I believe strongly, but you know, these platforms don't adopt it. And that is that basically verification on all of these platforms should be free. You know, like if somebody wants to verify, like by submitting their ID and saying, I am this person or I am this company, they should be verified. It shouldn't be some carrot thing because of the dangers of impersonations and things of that nature. Just like I'm talking about with Puffy and stuff like that. You know, when you take away people's ability to verify they are who they say they are, anybody could create, like I could go and create a Twitter account and be like, I'm Orion, right? Take his profile picture, post it, and just be saying crazy stuff, you know, saying anything about him. Oh, you know, I just robbed the bank last week, anything. Making terroristic threats, all sorts of stuff. Next thing you know, he got Homeland Security beating at his door, talking about some stuff that he said on Twitter that he didn't say, you know, because he got no way of proving that, hey, this isn't the real me. This is some fake account. you know? So it's like they all should have allowed verification, because this is the wheelhouse that we're in right now, man. Anybody can say anything about anybody, and the reality of the situation is people will take it as fact if it suits them bringing attention to themselves. It's a very self-serving landscape that we have now, because with social media, people want attention. So it's like if somebody accuses Orion of something and people know that even if it's not true, if they pretend that it's true, they can be upset and bring attention to themselves, get likes, get shares, get clicks. They'll pretend that it's true and they'll just talk about it as if it's true because it benefits them and it brings them attention and things. So it's a very dangerous landscape, man. But I'm gonna shout people out that's in the building and take questions if you got them. And if not, I'm gonna tap out. All right, y'all. So we got Orion, what up? We got Jose, what's good? We got T. Lamont, what up? Effectuate Music, was good. Manifest Vision, my guy, was good, man. MCKD, what up? Harmonic Universe, was good, y'all. What up? Yeah, man. So Jose, because he runs a digital distributor, for those that don't know, man, it's called DPM, right? And he's saying, he's like, Gift, we already started receiving the reports already for January, February, and I start seeing the difference. A lot of artists will be being affected. So Jose, is it up or down? Are artists making more or less? How are the numbers breaking down? That's what I want to know. How are those numbers breaking down? Yeah, I'm good, Jose. I'm all right, man. MCKD says, can I make money just distributing my songs without a PRO or publishing administrative? Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to forego publishing administrators and PROs and all of that stuff, you can. It's just that's direct to fan or YouTube, right? So YouTube pays all of those royalties in one. So if you are in the YouTube partner program and you upload music to your YouTube channel, YouTube is paying you all of the royalties. Your mechanicals, your publishing, everything goes to you. But if you are doing digital distribution, you're losing 20% because that money does not go to you. They don't pay it to you. They are required to pay it to ASCAP and BMI and performance rights organizations and the MLC by law. These are the people that they have to pay. They don't pay that money to you. So if you don't have them, you just lose out on that money altogether if your music is on streaming platforms. Now you can sell music direct to fan where you just say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to sell music on my website and just sell it like that. But even with that, if you are collaborating with people, you're collaborating with producers and other songwriters, other artists that are represented by these PROs and things of that nature. Yo, you're liable. You got to pay these people mechanical royalties. You got to pay them these royalties. So then they'll come after you. They can come after you. So it can become problematic, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the reality, these companies exist. They're empowered by the government to do what they do. And it doesn't even make sense to forego them unless you're going to exist completely outside of the system, where, like I said, you're selling music direct to fan. And that is no easy bag. That is very difficult to do. And that is another thing that I'm going to say this too, right? AI and the whole idea of selling music direct to fan. Because as we have this whole thing with Spotify and the monetization threshold with Spotify, the direct to fan concept has become way more popular. And everybody is like, yeah, man, direct to fan, sell your music direct to fan. Understand this. You have like 100,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify every day. The value of music has degraded largely because of oversaturation. There's just too much of it. And because there's so much of it, people are willing to give it away because they're just trying to get attention. And this reminds me of back in the days when we were first trying to sell CDs on the street. When we were selling CDs, or when I was selling CDs when I was younger, right? Like in the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s, around that time, everybody was shopping demos. That's what was happening. So that's where the oversaturation was. People record 3 songs and everybody was running around trying to get a meeting with a label to shop a demo. And labels was like, oh, beat it. Oh, these artists trying to get me to listen to their demo. Listen to my demo, you know? And when we started selling CDs, it was like a rare thing. So you step out into the streets and you're getting sales simply because you're doing something different. People are looking at it and they're saying, wow, you guys are trying to sell your music direct to fan. Oh, let me support. And people were buying the CDs, not even because, oh, the music is amazing, I love the music, but just because, oh, these guys are trying to do something I'm gonna support, right? Then once technology advances and it gets to a point where everybody could do CDs, next thing you know, everybody is out there trying to sell CDs. Then it becomes like people start trying to avoid you, right? You walking down the street, you got a CD, you trying to hand it to somebody, they crossing the street to avoid you. They trying to avoid eye contact so you don't see them and try to make your way to them to try to sell them your CD, because there's so many people doing it. And online, everybody making music, but you know, people, the means of distribution with Tunecore and stuff like that, money-wise, it was too expensive. $50 a year, things of that nature. Now $20, unlimited distribution. Release as much music as you want. Flood of music. So now you're talking about direct to fan. If all of these artists turn around and say, you know what, streaming revenue has dried up, let me start selling music direct to fan. Dude, you have to recognize that things are not local anymore. Even back in the days, it was like you had us in New York, we were selling to people in New York. People in Atlanta were selling to people in Atlanta. We weren't competing with each other. We were in different regions. You know, somebody on the West Coast didn't have to worry about somebody in New York taking their fans and stuff like that because we were all the way on the East Coast. But now the internet is global. So all of the artists within a genre are competing with each other directly. You are competing with each other. So if you come out with a digital download and you say buy mine, and this other guy come out and he say buy mine, that consumer has to decide, am I gonna buy his or am I gonna buy his? Whose am I gonna buy? And that a lot of times leads to them buying nothing, right? Or, well, it's just so many releases that I wanna buy, I can't afford to buy them all. Let me go and get these illegally for free because I can't afford to buy everything and I want it. So now, you know, file sharing returns, right? So it's like the value of the music, because also, you know, you have a situation where the artists start lowering the cost. So it's like the artists say, okay, well, I was trying to sell it for $10. They won't buy it for $10. Let me see if they'll buy it for $7. Let me see if they buy it for $5, $3, $2, $1. Take it for free. You know, hopefully if they take it for free and it blows up, then I can make money once I get a name, right? And you have that type of situation. So it's like the direct to fan thing. It can be good if you already have the pre-existing audience, you know, and you can make the money. But if you don't have the pre-existing audience, dude, that is not an easy way to go, you know, because you effectively have to be able to afford to lose money. So if you got like $5,000 or something where you can say, hey, I'm going to dedicate this $5,000 to advertising and promoting this release to figure out the strategy and the funnel and things of that nature, and you can eat that loss of $5,000 to where when you start making money, you can start earning it back, then yeah, you know, you can go and take that because that's a business endeavor. You know, now you're talking business. With streaming and stuff like that, it's to some effect it's house money. You spend $20 a year for unlimited distribution. You throw out a whole bunch of releases, and if something works, you get streams and you make something. And if nothing works, then hey, you only spent $20. But direct to fan, whole other animal. Whole other animal. Ron Patton says, I've signed with Mogul a few weeks ago. So far, I'm very impressed with its features. Yeah, man, Mogul is what's up, yo. Mogul is what's up. Harmonic Universe says, didn't you do like 10 years for Diddy? Aren't you Sean? He's joking. Hey, somebody always say I look like somebody, man. But it's all good. I can't complain. Agreed. It's like they paint a guilty narrative of a person, then build the case off that. Exactly. They convict you in the court of public opinion. They just start saying stuff, and then everybody, like basically the noise, once it gets to circulating and everybody get to talking about it, then that becomes the narrative. Like the way that people are talking about this Diddy case is like, dude, you would think this guy was sitting in the cell somewhere. Prague said, yo, what's happened to your WhatsApp, man? Yo, do you have Instagram? Hit me up on Instagram or just email me, payusnomine@gmail.com. You know, I'll find a way to communicate with you if you want to get up, you know. Yeah, man. Jose says, the numbers, for those wondering, with Spotify monetization are down. He says they are down. So artists are seeing less, you know, and I mean, yeah, yo, it's unfortunate. Super less. He says super less. Wow. Amazing. I was in shock when I started seeing the reports for January, especially including the old releases. This is crazy. Yeah, man, it's nuts, yo. It's nuts, man. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you know, you still get some money, I guess, right, from your PRO and your publishing administrator, like your Song Trust or whatever have you. So, you know, and I mean, that's not to say that that's going to compensate for it, because you're losing a lot of money still altogether. You're going from getting 100% to getting 20, right? But it beats a blank. And the big thing with Spotify, and I think the way that they want people to kind of look at them, or at least indie artists, the way that they want indie artists to look at them, is like radio, where you're using them to build a name for yourself and then monetizing the name. And I mean, the reason why Spotify feels, I think, comfortable in doing this is that they don't think that it's gonna harm them, because ultimately they feel like when the artist gets to the point where their music has value, they're gonna put it on Spotify. So it's like, you might be upset now as an indie artist and say, oh, screw Spotify, I'm not dealing with them, I'm pulling my music off. But they look at it and they say, well, it's not worth much to us. Nobody's gonna stop using Spotify because you took your music down. But once it get to a point where you're popular and you're successful, then if you sign with a record company or something like that, they're gonna put it on Spotify and they're gonna have it. So they're like, well, when the music has value, we'll have it. So basically it's a victimless crime as far as they're concerned, because they're gonna be all right no matter what. When the people want the music, they'll get it. Right now it doesn't have demand, so they're like, whatever, you know? And I mean, Spotify is not the only one. I think what Deezer is doing is worse, not in the sense of the monetization threshold, but I think Deezer, they've removed, like, I think, what was it, like 1 million songs or something like that? Deezer has started removing any song on their platform that has failed to generate a single stream in the past year. So if you got music on Deezer that hasn't generated at least one stream, they're just deleting it. They're wiping it off of their platform. Like, they're not even allowing it to sit there, which is like worse, because I look at it and I'm like, listen, man, it's kind of like Jeff Price was saying, the guy that founded Tunecore. He was saying on Twitter, he was like, the Beatles weren't the Beatles until they were the Beatles. You know, so it's like you got so many artists that might put a song up and it does nothing. And then somebody kind of comes across it on a whim and they say, oh, this is amazing. And then use it in a video or use it in like some type of TikTok or something like that. And then that song can go from 0 to 60 overnight. So to be like, okay, well, this song has 0 streams now, so we're just gonna dump it. I don't know, man. That don't sound too good to me. Yeah, man. But yeah, I'm gonna get up out of here. Now, as always, again, we have links the products and services that we recommend in the description box. If you want to hit me up, you can payusnomine@gmail.com, payusnomine on Twitter, or at payusnomine on Twitter, at payusnomine on Instagram. This is Gift signing off. Pay us no mind. Peace, good people. One. Part of your world.